Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Rod Giltaca. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. I'm here this morning with my colleague, Ms. Tracy Wilson, who is our VP of Public Relations. So we're here this morning because we are very concerned about a developing situation in the Liberal Party of Canada. Should it form another majority or a coalition government in the upcoming election, the Liberals have laid out a plan to take extreme action against Canadians who are responsible and legal firearm owners. The Liberal majority government has already passed a bill that does literally nothing to stop the shootings in our urban and rural communities, and I refer to Bill C-71. The Prime Minister has repeatedly lied to Canadians about the law and the effect of the bill. He's misled Canadians numerous times himself on this topic and accepted support from groups who have also misled Canadians and even the Senate. As Canadians who expect honesty and fairness, we find this unacceptable. To make matters worse, the majority of the media have failed to hold him to account on these transgressions, which has seemed to have encouraged him further. Ministers Blair and Goodale have followed suit and engaged in much of the same behavior. I'm happy to discuss all the details that support my statement with you when you have questions. Their latest strategy is to mobilize the media and certain groups to promote and support a promise to confiscate firearms from hundreds of thousands of legal, licensed, responsible Canadians because of the acts of unlicensed criminals. Criminals who not only disregard the law, they don't even know what the laws are. If these people are caught, they're facing charges today that carry decades in prison, and very rarely do they see any of that. The Liberals have failed Canadians on crime, and they know it, and we know it too. So as it seems, their last play in this election is to drive a wedge in our society, to stoke the fears in Canadians that know little or nothing about firearms and how they're regulated, and turn them against their brothers and sisters who lawfully and responsibly own them. To accomplish this, the Liberals have marched out a one-sided narrative and excluded stakeholders and true experts on the firearm file. They aren't thinking about what the right thing is for Canadians. They're not thinking about how to take back control of Toronto or Vancouver or Winnipeg from this criminal element. It's all about keeping power. In our opinion, Canadians not only deserve a government that will work hard to do the required work to increase public safety, but also, and this is important, to stand up for the rights of all Canadians who respect the rule of law and not just the ones they need at election time. It was Justin Trudeau himself that said, "Working to gain freedoms for our fellow citizens is a bedrock traditional value of this country." How far we've fallen in 4 short years. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Tracy, to say a few things as well.
I'd like to reiterate and emphasize something that Rod touched on. The Liberals have failed on crime. There's no denying that. Look, Rod and I are both parents, and we want a safer Canada as much as anyone else. We are not here to act on some political bias where we just want our team to win. We actually want credible work on crime, and we want Canadians who've done nothing wrong to be left alone. That's the moral solution that is a win for everyone. Concerning the one-sided conversation that we are now witnessing, despite the work of the CCFR, producing our television shows, explainer videos, commissioning highly accurate and fully referenced reports showing a startling level of dishonesty by anti-gun groups and the government for that matter, close to all of Canada's mainstream media has not lifted a finger to tell the other side of the story. I'm sure Canadians can speculate about why that is, but the CCFR has determined that our only choice is to engage with Canadians directly. Today, we will be launching the CCFR Integrity Tour. Mr. Giltaca and I will be driving a fully wrapped 30-foot RV from Montreal to Regina, Saskatchewan, inviting Liberal MPs, media, and everyday Canadians to chat with us as well-established experts. We will be relying heavily on Justin Trudeau's promise of open, transparent government, evidence-based policy development, and positive politics to ensure this important conversation won't be refused by Liberal members of Parliament and candidates. We will be uploading video of all of these interactions to the CCFR's YouTube channel, which can be easily searched. Our goal is to work together and to provide valuable insight to these future leaders and we hope that we won't be met with the divisive rhetoric and hyperbole that we've seen in this conversation up until now, because it's not about us. It's about the fact-based decision-making that Mr. Trudeau promised 4 short years ago. As I mentioned, you can find the daily videos on the CCFR YouTube channel and reports from the road at firearmrights.ca. We'd be happy to take your questions.
Yesterday, the Prime Minister stood in front of a group of city mayors, and a reporter asked who would support his new handgun legislation, proposed handgun legislation. None of them supported it, but not for the reasons you think. They said they wanted a total ban on handguns. I just wonder what your comment is about that. They're saying that the Trudeau government hasn't gone far enough.
Well, it's interesting because they're suggesting, well, you're suggesting and others that there should be a total ban on handguns. I guess nationwide is the idea, right? Right now, there is a
municipality could choose to implement a total handgun legislation if they chose.
Well, let's go all the way for all of the dreams of the anti-gun folks in Canada. Let's say there's a federal ban. Right now, there is a federal ban on the possession of handguns by unlicensed individuals, i.e. criminals, right? So the criminals that are shooting up the streets are already banned. Has Justin Trudeau been able to enforce that ban yet? Or John Tory or any of these other mayors? They're already banned. And I don't see them able to enforce that ban. So the net result is people like us, we will certainly lose our guns. We will certainly abide by that ban. But you end up with a situation where not only haven't you solved your problems, but you've alienated around 500,000 Canadians if you're talking specifically about handguns. And if you're talking about semi-automatic rifles or shotguns, that's probably another 1 million. So you haven't solved your problem, and you've divided Canadians. And wouldn't everybody be served better if they just enforced the ban that's already on the books and solved their crime problem? Everybody would win.